Okay, everybody, welcome to the OT Unleashed podcast. I am so excited because today we have an incredible guest, and I'm honored to have you, Arameh Anvarizadeh. Welcome to the OT Unleashed podcast.
I am so happy to be here. I feel like honored to be one of your first guests. And so thank you, Eric Johnson, for having me on here.
Oh man, well, it's really our honor, and I can't be more thrilled that we're doing it right now. AOTA is coming up next week, and
Yeah.
we have so many things that are, so many moving parts. But just to start things off, it's kind of been quiet for you for the last couple of months. Like anything interesting happen or significant,
Oh,
maybe?
wow, real quiet. That's funny. Yeah, I'm gonna get on this laughter train right here. It's been real
Do it.
quiet, but it's been so quiet that somehow I won this election called AOTA president.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so starting June, starting July 1st, I will be the AOTA president-elect, and it's such an honor to serve our profession at the highest level. So that's how quiet it's been.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I want to talk about your presidency, your election, the things that you want to do. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah,
But not everybody knows, how you got to this place. Like you broke all these records. Like you're the first this, you're the
yeah,
youngest this, and
yeah,
I didn't know you were Iranian, which was kind of cool.
yeah.
As I was kind of I've known you for
You didn't
years.
graduate from the Anvarizadeh part?
Hey, well, I mean, I
Yeah,
started to, do a deeper dive on you. So like I
yeah,
learned a little bit more. So,
yeah,
but you've been the first, you've been the youngest, all these things. Like,
yeah.
how did we get here, Arame?
Thank
Like,
you.
tell me, what's your OT origin story?
Listen, Eric, I appreciate this question because I think that anytime you're part of any kind of organization or you are um, talking to someone, you should know their origin story, right? Just to
Yeah.
understand if like is even aligned with your own core values. So I love sharing origin stories. And so my thank you for asking my origin story. Listen, Eric, I would have completely missed out on OT, period. I was a sophomore at USC. I was going to be this bad. Can we say cuss words here? I'm going to be cool. It's
Go ahead.
your first one. I'm not going to go too crazy. But I was going to be
It's fine.
this dope neurosurgeon, and I was pre-med. I was studying all of the things, and I was in organic chemistry. I'll never forget my sophomore year at USC undergrad. And Kim Eggleston, who let me tell you about this full circle moment in a bit, but she came in and she was so hyped about this thing called OT. And I was like, what is this? And so
Yeah.
I was like, it sounds pretty cool. Like it sounds like, instead of just going and doing the surgery and be like, peace out, I can be part of the recovery journey, which really sounded very it sounded like a very humbling experience, right? And a very beautiful
Yeah.
experience to be part of somebody's journey throughout their recovery. And so I said, oh, okay. And let me date myself now. This is back in 2002,
Okay.
2003. Okay,
Yeah.
Eric, let
Yeah.
me date myself. I'm about 20 some years, and I think the OTD was just starting. And they're like, oh, you could get this thing called the doctorate. So as you just said, I was Iranian. The Iranian in me was like, oh, I could still be a doctor.
Yes.
So I started taking a class here and there, and lo and behold, I switched my major, not realizing, really committing that I switched my major. I was like, okay, I'm going to do OT because at that time you could get an undergrad and a bachelor's in OT and continue with your master's. And I continued on. And even when I graduated, I said, I'm still going to go to medical school. I was in denial until I guess 18, 19 years later now, I am the OT ambassador. I am in love with
Yes.
our profession, but I would have never discovered it if she didn't come into my OChem class. The full circle moment is when I was the director of admissions at USC.
Yeah.
She was on my admissions team for my
Wow.
first holistic admissions cohort. She was part of the admissions committee. And so, now I
So
get to
cool.
work with her even closely as I teach the minor courses. And now it's like even the full circle moment is I'm now teaching undergrads this semester and teaching them and talking about OT. And I was like, that was me. That was
Full
me in those
circle.
classrooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I found out. And I still love the brain. The brain is like the lion in the jungle. I'm a Leo, I'm a lioness.
Yes.
So, it's like I love the brain. And so when I got into OT, I was still doing a lot of work with kiddos and even older adults across the lifespan with, neurological disorders, neuron. Oh my God, what am I saying? But anyway, neurological disorders. And so I was still able to tap into the piece I love about like neurology.
Yeah, that's so cool. And
Yeah,
what's interesting is like you and I were going to OT school at the same time. So
saying so.
I got accepted. Like I was in the army for 4 years and then I was burned. And my story is I met an OT through my burns, yada, 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 wanted to go to OT school. And I also had applied to a school that was, I was looking for a bachelor's degree, an undergrad or like a
Hmm.
bachelor's OT program.
Hmm.
And I graduated in 2005 with my master's, and so we were like kind of in that same
We
space.
were side by side. You remember the days where like it was just the talks about OTD. It was like
Yeah.
nothing like be a member of your association. I don't remember like being going to conferences as a student, none of that. It was just like
Uh-uh.
all you discovering it. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's good to know that we were in
Well,
we were in it together.
yeah, yeah. We've been in that kind of mix the whole time, and now we're both doctors. Like, ooh,
Doctor,
fancy
yes.
doctor. Yes. Okay, so our next segment we're going to talk about is Trailblazer Tales. Okay, so in the Trailblazer Tales, we're going to spotlight your journey, something that tells us how you blazed a trail
Mm,
in kind of this in your new world of OT. And I know that one thing I really want to talk about is the presidency, but also I want to
okay.
talk about COTAD. Now,
Okay.
you actually, I just recently found out, like, so one of my good friend, I love this guy, Stacy, is also a co-founding member.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I love him so much. And so tell us about COTAD. Like, this was 2014 or so. Is that when?
Around that
So
time.
how did you get to the point where you're like, I really want some more intentional diversity in the profession?
Yeah.
What happened there? What was the discussion?
Another origin story. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
When I started COTAD chapters, I would onboard the chapters, the students, and I would say, listen, I really want to tell you the origin story of how COTAD got started. So you know what you're a part of.
yeah.
And I would tell that story like 1,000 times a day because I was onboarding so many chapters by myself.
Yes, yeah.
Which shows you the need that students wanted spaces. So COTAD, we were a group of emerging leaders. You know Catherine Hoyt,
Oh
AOTA.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So Catherine, Christina, the new VP, Stacy, Adam Pearson, Nadine. I mean, there's a group of us who were part of literally the AOTA Emerging Leaders Program. And we were literally sitting down and we were talking about the Centennial Vision. And at the time, we come up at the same time. So the Centennial
Oh
Vision.
yeah. Oh
When
yeah.
I talk to students, I'm like,
2017.
it's different than Vision 2025. Let me
It
go back.
is.
So the time we're talking about 2012, 2013, it's almost 2017, and the part of like it being evidence-based and science-driven and all the things were like happening in our profession, right? But the piece that kept on like there was like this gap that was kept on tugging on our spirits was being this diverse workforce that met society's occupational needs, right?
Yeah.
And so we're like, how are we getting there? And I remember Amy Lamb was the president at the time, and
Yep.
she overheard our conversation, and she was like, "Well, why don't you?" I'm really summarizing the story. Why don't you do a presentation at the next conference? And I say this to her, I'm like, maybe she told the wrong group of people or the right group of people because we're like, okay, we'll do a presentation, and we did a presentation. It was about how do we increase diversity in the student body so that ultimately there could be increased representation in the profession to
Yes.
serve communities, right, that look like
Yeah.
them. And so empty room, maybe a few people, people weren't talking inclusion or equity. It was just the word diversity. It encompassed everything. And
Yeah.
at that moment, everyone just kept coming up to us who were in that space, asking about things and how we were doing things. And so we took a moment after that presentation and we looked at each other. We said, we have to start something. We have to start something. We have to start this idea of a coalition. How do we work
Yeah.
together? And COTAD was born. COTAD was formed
Perfect.
and born at grassroots, Eric, zero
Yeah.
dollars. We didn't know how to start a nonprofit. We were all people all across the country. I mean, we were using Zoom before anybody was using Zoom. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't have a COTAD office. We didn't have a budget. We didn't have anything. We just had heart and a spirit of trying to tap into that piece of the Centennial Vision.
Yeah.
And, you know, um, 10 years later, and we are the premier organization that is about JEDI, justice, equity,
Yeah.
inclusion, diversity, anti-racism, anti-oppression. And I'm honored to say, we grew up together in the spaces of how we serve our profession, how we serve in this equity work and this justice work. The students, like I said, I was talking to Catherine one day 6, 7 years ago now. And I was like, listen, we need spaces at every OTA program to talk about like safe cultural humility and diversity.
Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
nothing. I remember being a student, there was nothing. And
Right.
there was barely any representation. And I started the first COTAT chapter at West Coast University because I was a fieldwork coordinator there. And we're 5 years later, we have over 140 COTAD chapters across
Wow.
the country, OT and
That's
OTA programs.
incredible.
It's incredible, but it's just like it's a birthing, right? It's a
Yeah.
birthing,
Yeah.
and
And you're just
so
getting started.
just
Well,
it's just start something. Just have a
yeah.
vision of a barrier that you want to break, or a space that you want to create, or a gap that you see, or a disparity, and like roll the sleeves up and get it done. And so we just celebrated 10 years last year, and had a huge 10-year celebration at the conference, AOTA conference, and in really acknowledging how this is now a nonprofit and the number one nonprofit in this work
So
globally.
it's incredible. The story's so cool because it really filled a need that just was it just didn't it didn't exist when you and I were coming up through school. Like, this wasn't a thing. They didn't talk about
No,
equity, they didn't talk about diversity. It was just
nothing.
it's 95% women, 5% men, and that was about it.
That was it.
uh
That was it. I mean, intersectionality, what was that word? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and
So
so, yeah,
okay, so we're going to talk about the presidency in a second, but you recently had to put out a video that said, I have to step away from COTAD
yeah,
because I have gotten this role
yeah,
in AOTA. So
yeah,
you're leaving this legacy that
yeah.
when we're in our 70s and 80s, and people in COTAD is 300, 500, chapters.
Love that. I
I mean,
love that, Eric.
you're
Speak
going to
into
be,
existence.
yeah. Well, I mean, how do you feel about that legacy? You, like you said, you started it. You were in a room with very little people, but then it just blew up. So
Yeah,
how do you feel about it? Are you excited that that was your, like, a
yeah,
piece of your legacy?
yeah. I'm humbled. I am. All it is service, Eric. It's nothing that
Service.
I. It's nothing new to my story, right? It's
Yeah.
serving, it's action, it's my core values of decreasing barriers and increasing access and whatever hat I wear. It's preparation, it's opportunity, and it's giving back. And so I am so humbled by the influence that we've had in these spaces, and to show people that if you really just roll up your sleeves and do. Like, we are the doing, Eric. We are the
Yeah, we
doing.
are
We
the
are the
doing.
right. And when you look at what occupational justice is, how are we providing spaces to make sure that our profession is in its core, being its core, right? Through
Yeah,
equity work, through justice work, through accessibility, and the words go on and on and on. The acronyms are getting longer and longer,
sure.
but to know that we were the beginning space, and how that's carried, and how so many people have resonated. It is part of the legacy.
Man, I am
It's part of the
so
legacy.
I love it. I'm so excited for it. And now you get to take that springboard and you're going into the presidency. And of course
Yeah,
you'll be president elect for a year starting in
yeah,
July. And so you'll kind of, I guess, well, you've already been with Allison for a while now because you've been vice
yeah,
president.
yeah.
And so tell us about what are some of the things you're most excited about to kind of start to get your hands on and start to really try to see some tangible change in the profession, in the professional organization. What are some
Yes.
of the things that you really want to
Oh,
do?
things. Yeah. So, I resigned from COTAB because I love our profession so much. And I know, you have a baby, and you grew it up, and you put in a place where it can be sustainable, right? And you
Yeah.
move on to what this idea is, what we birth leaders, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's funny, you can come into these spaces and take up space, or you can have been prepared and doing this for year after year after year. So when it is time, it's like when preparation meets opportunity, right? And it's
Right.
like it's
Right.
time. One of the things that I'm so excited to continue to serve, and our profession's at a crossroads, Eric.
Yeah. It is.
It's at a big crossroads, and we need to come together to be able in a state of community to be able to move ourselves forward, right? The association and the profession. The work of
Yeah.
the association obviously is different than moving the profession forward, but they have alignment, and
Sure.
with the association, I think it's really important for our members and non-members to understand our governance structure, to understand what AOTA does and doesn't do, right? Or can and can't do, to understand what our bylaws look like, to
Yes.
understand, what volunteer leadership really is. I think people honestly think there's 13 members of the board and, that's
Hmm.
AOTA, but there's staff, there's
Russ.
committees.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing, right, happening. And I don't know if people really recognize, like, what is the regulatory and government affairs group doing? They're doing incredible work, right? And how are we communicating those things? So I want to
Yeah.
educate individuals about what our governance even feels like, decisions are made, how policies are made, how to get people more involved and engaged and proud to be AOTA members again, right? I want
Right.
us to be very clear about what our strategic plan is and what our priorities are and how we're moving forward as a unit, not just the board, but the members, even non-members, to know these are what the priorities of the association is. This is how we're
Yeah.
moving forward and renewing our mission and our vision. I mean, Vision 2025, next year is 2025.
I
You
know.
know, there is so much opportunity to bring our communities together and not work in silo when we're talking about our vision and our mission and renewing it and what our strategic plan looks like. Like, I'm so excited to bring community together, Eric. Like,
Yeah.
imagine working together, like organizations that are typically like on the sideline and bringing people in. So my whole goal is to lead with not only love. I know that sounds corny and cliche, but bring power within, And I
Yeah.
think that systems are so traditionally, we power, power, power. But when you bring power within, like, you're elevating others and you're bringing others up in these spaces to also tap into their power, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, occupational scientists,
Yeah.
OTAs, minoritized individuals. People want to be seen and people want to be heard. And have the I have I have the tenacity to do
Yeah.
that and the excitement to do that. And for our profession, we
I-
have to be able to position ourselves, Eric, so that others don't encroach on what we do.
Yeah.
Occupational therapy is the most beautiful profession ever.
It
Call
is.
me corny, call me cliche. I still to this day think we are the best profession. And we need to be able to know, people need to be able to say occupational therapy and scream to the rooftops and know what it is, right?
Yeah.
Our visibility, our sustainability, our viability, our reimbursable is like being targeted. And
Yeah.
so as a leader of this organization, of this profession, bringing us together, bringing our messaging together, bringing our membership up, will only lead us into the future of being a powerful premier organization and profession. So I'm excited about
Yeah.
all things. I'm excited to continue to work with Allison, President Stover, for one more year, and then continue the work to move our profession forward.
Let me back up real quick. I just want you to know how impressed I am. I love that you are fine with saying I want to lead with love. And
Yeah,
it's, yeah, sure, it sounds corny, but when leadership isn't, I think viable leadership has to be led with love. It has to be
yeah,
in a space that says, I care enough about every human in here and their
yeah,
impact that I want to lead with my love for you. And I have always seen that in you. And as you
Thank
move
you.
forward, your excitement about the profession, your excitement about individuals is
Yeah,
huge.
thank
And
you.
I've always just admired how much you care, not about the huge part which you do, but you care about the small pieces, and
Yeah,
that's
to the
where you're going to
details.
succeed. And that's the details. So, all right, well, we got to keep moving, and I'm so
Yeah,
excited
thanks,
about
Eric.
this. But the podcast is called OT Unleashed, and you have unleashed so many things. But I want to know, and you can share with our listeners. What would you say your greatest or most interesting OT unleashed moment? Like, tell us
Mm,
like a clinical story, a client story where you're like,
really?
"Oh my gosh, I'd made such a difference." Tell me about something, or something in the profession that you're so excited about besides what we've talked about.
Yeah. Besides what we talked about, I mean, so many things. At the heart of who I am, I'm a clinician, I'm a practitioner, right?
Yes.
That's the heart of service. Like we're constantly serving our clients, and consumer value. I worked when I first graduated. I worked in CCS, California Children's Services, which is shout out to CCS. Right there,
Yeah.
I love California Children's Services, and to this day, one of the blessed places I work. But I work with kiddos 0 to 21. And one of the things we looked at when they started to transition out of the program when they're almost 21 was like it seemed like it was just like a checklist. Can you do your ADLs? Can you do your
Yeah.
IADLs? And
Yeah.
off you go. You've been part of this program for 21 years. Good luck in society. You have maybe regional center for one more
Modified
year.
independent. Go. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what? So I had this idea with some of my other OT crew to create this academy. And of course, it was called GSA, Glam Squad Academy. I should
I
have wrote a
love it.
paper on
Yeah.
it,
I love it.
GSA. And it was a transitional program for our adolescents. And it was really looking at what is it that they want to do? We looked at different assessments, the COPM, the goal attainment scale, and we looked at just, oh God, I'm remembering these from like 10 years ago almost. But we looked at what is it that you afterwards you want to go to college, you want to continue in school, do you want to work, and we created this 6-week program to be to the
Cool.
doing, the becoming. Yeah, we
Yeah.
okay, what are your goals? Okay, you want to go into work. Okay, let's look at what our ADLs and our IADLs into obtaining that. Let's do the application. Let's go and let's role play the interview. Let's see what you would wear to your job
Oh,
interview.
cool.
Let's practice, let's actually go and do, and let's role play. Let's get involved. You want to go to school? Let's do the application. Let's go to the tour to look at the campus to see if it's accessible for you.
Yeah.
We did all that. And 6 weeks later we put on like a huge performance, or like in like how they embodied their role, and even followed through and actually them actualizing their role. And so we finished that program. I mean, I brought makeup artists and hairstylists and people, fashion designers, and we every week we did something. And the culmination of that, they came and they felt like their best selves, right? And we had T-shirts, the Glam Squad Academy T-shirts.
Oh, that's so
It was
cool.
something else. Yeah, it was so cool, and it was so incredible. We brought our OTs and we brought our PTs involved. It was interdisciplinary, and our OTAs and our PTAs. And we created a program that was really magical to where we no longer did checklists. We actually embodied what transition looked
Cool.
like leaving our program. And I think that was such a wonderful accomplishment, achievement. Just
But
one of many, but
how
that's one.
crazy
What?
though that I mean, this is how it should be, right? We're OT, this is what we do, right? And so it shouldn't be
We're doing.
surprising, And so,
Yeah,
the listeners out there, hopefully there's a lot of students that are jumping on, like, embrace the fact that you have the ability to do stuff like this,
yeah, yeah.
My
Take
biggest
pen and
message for it,
paper.
yeah,
Sorry,
no, it's
we
okay.
didn't
My
say like here's
biggest,
a resource, here you go, like go do it. Like we
yeah.
did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, I mean, patient education is great. Here you go. Here's your stuff, but at the end of the day, doing is going to always supersede an in theory type of practice, right?
Yeah.
Um
And there was never anything like that before. Like there was no programs before in this in the organization. And we were able to present about it at conferences and even internationally about what we did. We should have published, but uh-oh, the baby's waking up. This is real life
Yeah, it's
motherhood.
real life.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go get the baby and I'm
Go
gonna
get the
continue this
baby.
podcast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Like bring
continue this podcast.
let's
And
do it. Let's continue. Yes.
okay, I'm gonna be right back.
Okay.
One
I love
second.
it.
Oh, sorry, commercial break. Hold tight.
Commercial break. Yeah. I'll
Be
I'll
right
talk in the
back.
meantime.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so exciting to have Arameh on, you guys. This is truly a huge historical event for our profession, and I really can't wait to see what that looks like moving forward. We got a chance to sit down when we were at a board meeting together, and got to kind of talk about what it all looks like, and at the time she was thinking about, I think I'm going to run for president, and actually started talking about I was going to run for a vice president. And what you don't know, Rame, was that I actually filled out almost everything for the VP role, and then found out that I couldn't do it because it was a conflict of interest with AOTF.
I was wondering, where is he?
Yeah, I
You
was
told me
there.
it was
I
gonna
was
be,
there. I
but I
was
said, we'll talk about it at some point. What happened there?
I was
The
so
baby's
excited
right
about it. I
back.
was amped. I had written all the you have to, if you guys haven't ever looked into running for a position, there's a lot to it. You have to write essays, and you have to,
Oh, it's intense.
sell yourself to the people allowing you to run. And so it was really cool, and I was super excited about it. But I was like, you know what? Before I hit that submit button, I need to check with AOTF to make sure that there's no conflict of interest. And unfortunately, they're like, your options are you could step down from the board of trustees, which I didn't want to do that to them. Like it's important for me to, I
Honor
committed
your
to them,
commitment.
and yeah, and so anyway,
Mhm.
but I'm still so excited for you to
There's
be
still
there.
opportunity.
Yeah, of course, of
I'll
course.
be on the board
We're
until
young.
2028.
We're young, yes. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, our next segment's called Quickfire Queries. It's kind of like a rapid fire round. So, for quickfire queries, I'm gonna hit you with a bunch of questions
Okay.
that are just kind of fun facts about you, and I don't want any explanations. I just want
Okay.
answers. So I'm
Okay.
gonna
Fun
throw it at
fact.
you, and you
Let's
just answer.
go.
Okay, are you ready for
Fun
this? We
fact.
got 10 questions. All right.
Oh,
First question: what is your go-to coffee order?
oh my God. Okay. How about I don't drink coffee? Oh my God.
I don't drink coffee
But
either.
oh,
No explanations, but I don't drink coffee either. So I love that answer.
tea.
Tea.
Okay.
What's your go-to tea order?
Okay. I'll do right now chai latte, almond milk,
Mm.
hot, and let's just do it. Not too sugary and all that good, all that jazz. Okay, next
Okay,
question.
okay. Which TV show have you recently binge watched that you're in love with?
Housewives. Are you kidding me? Real Housewives.
Yes.
Potomac. Are you kidding me?
I love it. I love it. Okay. What is the last book that you've read?
Good night, construction site. Oops.
That is amazing. Good night construction site. Okay. Well, hey, you know what? That's real, right? It's real. You can't lie on this, right? Okay. So what
But
is your for those out there that aren't parents or mothers or anything like that? This is a child's book. Good
best
night.
computers are in my household like crazy right now. So good night,
Yep.
construction
I
site.
love it. I love it. Okay. Number 4. What is your go-to OT model or frame of reference that you rely on?
OT model or what?
Frame of reference.
Oh, oh, that's a hard one. Well, I just did a chapter in Moho, so I'm going to shout that out. Moho right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
just did a
love,
chapter. I just did habituation.
I love Moho. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, fun fact, if for y'all that don't know, but the IRM, the intentional relationship model, written by Renee Taylor, she was the wife of Gary Kilhoffner, who did Moho.
Come on,
And
fun
both of
facts
those,
on top of facts.
oh my gosh, it's beautiful. All right, we're not supposed to have any explanation
Okay,
here.
okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
Number 5, what is your favorite song at the moment? What do you jam out to?
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, okay. Um, mm, Geez. Alien superstar Beyonce.
Oh my gosh. Are you so stoked about this like new country album that she's coming out
I
with?
am. I am. I
Oh my
am.
gosh.
because she's the Renaissance woman. I'm not supposed to talk. Okay, no, I can't talk
Okay,
about it.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
But I am like super down on Texas Hold'em. By the way, it's so good. Okay, what is one app on your phone that you cannot live without?
Oh, um, yeah. I hate to say it. My
Say
email. No, no, no. I'm gonna be cool. Instagram. Instagram.
Instagram. Oh, okay, yeah, be cool, be cool.
Be
Uh,
cool.
but it's probably her email.
My email
Okay.
because it's too much of a workaholic. I can't go.
We have to balance, right? Okay, number seven, favorite type of dessert.
Ooh, ooh, oh, yeah. I am a carrot cake girl. So,
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah, you're the dessert guy. I'm gonna
yeah.
get carrot cake right, and I'm gonna put that into the atmosphere. So maybe I'll get a carrot
Maybe it
cake.
shows up in your front door or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Carrot cake. I love carrot cake. That's awesome. Okay, cool. What is your favorite way to relax after a long day?
Yeah. Sit down in some silence and just decompress, you know.
Amazing.
Um, right now with a toddler and an infant and all that's going on, just some silence,
Yep.
have some tea.
Yeah. I love, yeah, there's that tea
Really
again.
bored. Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
tea.
Good, good. All right, number nine, two more. What is one hobby that you've always wanted to do but just never had a chance to? Or occupation, leisure activity?
I just told this to my son today. Fishing.
Fishing.
I
Like, do
haven't.
you want to go out in like the water deep sea
Yeah,
fishing, or would you like to like fish in a pond?
let's start with the pond. Let's just
Yeah,
start with the
pond
pond for
sounds good.
now. For the pond, and then we'll go further out.
Fun. I feel like that's super attainable. I think you could do
And the
that.
LA girl in me, I'm an Angelino. It's like, when are we going fishing? You know what I
Uh,
mean? I want to
yeah.
tap in. I want to tap in.
Okay. What is worse? What is worse weather? Is worse weather too hot or is it too cold?
Too cold. Are you kidding
Okay.
me? Too cold. Okay.
We love the cold. Like too hot is too hot for me, but too cold is
No. See?
fantastic.
That's how you know I live in LA.
Yeah.
It gets
SoCal
it gets
girl.
it gets 60 and I'm like, oh my God, where's my Columbia jacket?
Okay, I'm going to give you one bonus question only
Yes.
because there is a right and wrong answer.
Dang.
The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim or the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Dodgers. Stop
You
playing
are,
with
this
me.
is why you're my favorite.
Stop
This is why you're
playing
my
with
favorite.
me. Stop
Oh
playing.
my
Look,
gosh, I'm so
the
excited.
Los Dodgers. Let's
Los
go.
Dodgers.
Los
Yes, I love
Dodgers.
it. I
Yes.
love it.
Come on. We're a Dodger family.
Oh, oh
So
man,
let's
I'm a
go to
huge
Dodger
Dodger
game.
fan, and we just like we got so many amazing new players this year. It's going to be a baller year for us.
When you come
Okay.
to LA, we will go to a Dodger game on
Oh,
me.
that you know what? That is happening. I'm so
Okay.
down.
Awesome.
Okay. So we have come to one of our last things that we're going to discuss where you get to leave some sage advice for OT practitioners, students, or the
Mm.
community. We call this the sage stage. So,
Oh, where's the stage? I love that. I
yeah,
love that.
so you got a captive audience and tell me or tell them, give them some advice, something that you want them to take away from this.
Yeah. Oh, this is good. Okay. First of all, if you're at a point in your education or your practice as a new practitioner, I just say yes to opportunity, right? Say yes. Because who would have thought I would become president? I just said yes,
Yeah.
and I didn't allow, I don't think there's any such thing of imposter syndrome. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in this idea of imposter syndrome. You are not an imposter. You belong, right? And so my
Yeah.
advice is say yes, because that yes will take you to another place and create your trajectory, create your journey. Okay. My other thing I want to say is that, and I always say this, that 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 intention does not equal impact. You can have all the intention that you want, but it doesn't equal impact. I want people to be influential and intentional and impactful in the spaces that they occupy, in how they're occupying spaces, how they take up space, and leave a legacy in that. No matter if you're a student or a practitioner or a scientist or anything, leave a legacy in whatever space that you take up. And the third thing is, and we're going to leave it like that. Leave with love. Lead with love. Lead being transformative. Lead being authentic. And there is no space for fear-based leadership in the changes that we want to make for the greater good.
That's
So
awesome.
that is it, Eric.
Good. Sage. I love it. I love it. Well,
Sage.
I can't thank you enough for being on with me. I am so excited to be able to release this to the world. I'm excited for your presidency. I'm excited for you personally. I'm thrilled. I cheered. I saw that when I found out that you got the presidency, I saw somebody else mention that they had gotten elected. I want to say um I forget who it was, but I was like, oh my gosh, the results are out. And I like
Yeah,
ran to my
I didn't
computer
know
and I was
either.
like,
I just found out when like my phone was like blowing up. I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, oh my God. And then I saw the results and I saw the numbers, I saw the votes. I was like,
the numbers, girl, that was a crazy amount of people voting. And you
yeah,
know what? What a great, like I'm thrilled that you won. I voted for you
thank
openly.
you. Thank you.
But the other people that ran were incredible
Hmm.
also. And I
Oh
was
yeah.
like really impressed by the people that were up there. I took
It was
some
like
time
a
to,
real presidency.
yeah,
Like
it
it was
was
like
it
a
was
real deal. And that's why I wanted to acknowledge too before we end is like it takes a lot of courage and bravery to step up into these roles of leadership. Sometimes, most of the time, sometimes it's a thankless job and it's a service, it's a volunteer job. And I wanted to also acknowledge the candidates who ran, all the candidates, because it
yeah,
takes courage. It takes bravery to put yourself out there to like be in the forefront. So I'm just honored to have ran against the many candidates that I did, the three candidates, and also all the people, the VPs, the board of directors. I mean, I'm
yeah,
just really excited for like the how we did this, you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's incredible. Well,
yeah,
I'm so glad that you said it. I'm so glad we got to talk about that a little
yeah,
bit. But
yeah.
anyway, so thank you so much for being
That's
on. You guys, it's time to say goodbye, my
all.
friends. Keep exploring, keep dreaming, and continue to unleash the extraordinary and the ordinary. Thank you for joining us on the
Thank you
OT
for having
Unleashed
me.
podcast. And you guys, we encourage you to engage, cultivate, and unleash. We'll talk to you later.